Folks, it's almost SPL season once again, and I've been getting the urge to play again for a while. So this is a very dangerous mix because the last two times I have gone against my better judgment and signed up for SPL, I wound up not enjoying it, as I knew I wouldn't, and wound up stressing myself out and worrying because I have this problem where I just cannot take this competitive Pokemon thing casually. I can't take anything I'm really into casually. The only things I can enjoy casually are things I don't know anything about. Like my girlfriend really likes K-pop, and I enjoy K-pop on the most superficial level possible. If I were really into it, I would, obsess. So I am attempting to scratch this itch preemptively by, number one, reminding myself what a miserable experience it was. But it's not all doom and gloom, of course. It is nice, or has been nice, to affirm to myself that, if I, don't drive myself insane, then I can still play decently. And sometimes you get some good games out of it, as much as I like to bemoan the best of one format. So that is what we're going over in this video, which is my favorite battle from the last SPL. One I was really, really looking forward to, and I'm very happy it delivered, because it was against Ladybug when I joined the competitive scene. Well, when I joined the Smogon part of the competitive scene, then Ladybug was a legend in DPP. He had this Hailstall team, which was defining. It was using Nidoqueen in OU way before it was cool. Spiritomb, he had a version with Hitmontop, and I think there was a version with no steals, and he won with it anyway. It was insane stuff. I think he brought 6 dragons to an SPL game after Black and White came out and won with it. Nutty stuff like that. He was the original. Whoever your favorite innovative player was, who brought it to tournaments and won with it, Ladybug did it first. Ladybug inspired them. And even when he wasn't messing around with, goofy stuff, then he was one of the most rock-solid players you would ever encounter. So I had a lot of admiration for him in this period, and I always wanted to play him in a real game. I played him in the one of the later rounds of a tournament in the fall of 2012 in Black and White. And I had this real chip on my shoulder, like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to show. I'm better than Ladybug now, or whatever. And I won, but I was like, that didn't even count. It was Black and White, he's not really in his zone. And the truth is that I will never get to play 2010 or 2009 Ladybug, of course. But either way, I was really looking forward to it, regardless of the result, which is an extreme rarity in competitive Pokemon. You're supposed to enjoy the process and all that jazz. Well, most of the time it is dread and terror, and maybe not terror, but for some it is. But for me, it was more just like, God, I want to get it over with so I can enjoy myself, which is a great way of looking at your hobby, obviously. But yeah, this one I was really looking forward to. Of course, that did not make my team selection process any easier, because similarly to how I can't take things casually, I can't just come up with, 1 or 2 or 3 teams. It explodes into, I don't even know how many things, every week. And my teammates were generally great, but they were like, well, Kev, you know DPP better, so what do you think? And I'm just like, okay, sure, but it's a lot easier to pick for a best of 3 than a best of 1. And yeah, because who knows what sort of goofy stuff is going to come up. And at the really frustrating thing is, and I never would have done this years ago, but I genuinely decided my team like at the last second because I was stressing myself out so much that I was like, at the very last minute, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to bring something that I know and I like, and I'm not going to worry about anything else, which is an ideal way of doing things in general. But when you have the stress preparation of a week ahead of you before your game, then you're going to be like, really? Is that it? No, especially if, like me, you like building teams, and you want to explore all the options because you have all these ideas, and it's like movies. But at the end, I was just driving myself absolutely insane, and I was like, I'm going to bring this So this is a variant of my buddy Jirachi's team that I have tweaked into, its own sort of monstrosity for a long time. This is one of my favorite go-to teams like 6 years ago. I really like the general skeleton of Jirachi's team, kind of inspired by these very old, like Specs Heatran style balances that I was always a fan of. I'm a fan of Blissey on these kinds of teams. Specs Heatran is not a necessary wall breaker on these sorts of things, but I like it a lot. And I was trying things like Jirachi had a Scarf Jirachi, but I really love Scarf Metagross. And so I had it there. I was playing with all these wacky Starmie sets, as you'll see in this one. No Surf because it doesn't do anything against Heatar anyway. Not that that's the only reason, but I don't want Breloom coming in, because that was another thing that was stressing me this season. I hate Breloom's place in the metagame. I'm so sick of it's mostly just Spore, really. Sleep and Spore. If I were more active, as you can tell, I was talking before, I'm going to post that thread about how we got to get rid of Spore, and then I didn't, and I was like, more focus on my movie. But, yeah, so that's why the Starmie you're going to see on my side does not have Surf, because I don't want Breloom coming in any more than it already will. But yeah, and then there's other stuff. Oh, my beloved Subroost Zapdos, which I feel is almost a cheat code. It wins all sorts of things it shouldn't win. Or you think it shouldn't win, and then you realize, oh, they can't actually beat it. So that's, my preferred version of Zapdos on this style. But honestly, it's my preferred Zapdos on any style, pretty much. Unless you really need things like Heat Wave or Roar or U-Turn or whatever. But yeah, I just love Sub. So yeah, and I had no idea what to expect from Ladybug. I was like, is he going to bring the Hail Team? Because that would be cool for me personally. And I'll have a good matchup against a Abomasnow in the first turn with my Specs Heatran. Which I wouldn't stay in because it might just protect. But it's also probably going to switch to Starmie or Blissey or something. So I'm going to switch to my own Blissey to get up rocks. So that was already... Okay, the mic is... I realized the mic tends to fall out if I move very much, so I'm trying to remain very still, but I just had to adjust myself there. Anyway, so we have the turn 1 matchup of Gallade, which, cool lead. Machamp is banned now, so Gallade has always been, way back in like 2010, it was already being used. It was basically Machamp that beats Machamp because of Stabs and Headbutt. It's got a lot of other cool properties, and I wasn't expecting it. But I was like, well, to Zapdos we go, because Zapdos counters everything. And it just CCs and doesn't show Life Orb, which doesn't really tell me anything, because I figured, oh, it's Lumberry or something in that case. So I think I just go for a Discharge, because which also, something I like on this team, I think most people, when they use this sort of style, they use T-Bolt on Zapdos, which, shocker, T-Bolt Zapdos. But, again, I'm a big fan of Sub-Roost Zapdos, and the opportunities it gets when you discharge pair or something are just unreal. It's also just generally good for what is mostly a slower-paced team. Lots of para. The more para, the better on this sort of stuff. Not because there's any Jirachi Ironhead flinch shenanigans, but there's 3 forms of paralysis on this team. Blissey with T-Wave, Starmie with T-Wave, and then Zapdos with Discharge. And if you really lay it on, then suddenly Specs Heatran is much more threatening against faster teams, so it's not just specializing and beating up balance. Not that it does, it's still good against offense, but now it's really good against offense. If Metagross tricks its Scarf away, it's still going to be outspeeding a lot of stuff, but mostly Breloom. And this is a good time to note that Breloom on this team does not have Spore, because there's so much paralysis going on that I decided, you know what, I just need attacks. Mach Punch, Seed Bomb, Superpower, Focus Punch. No, I'm sorry, not on this team. It was after this battle, when I was making more teams and I realized how much paralysis there is on them, that I was thinking about that 4-attack Breloom. But I do have the Focus Punch Breloom here over the Superpower variant I used to run way back when, specifically to have a better time breaking through stall teams. Physically defensive Skarmory, Rest Hawk, physically defensive Jirachi. Just generally putting a lot of pressure. But yeah, Spore and paralysis can sometimes overlap, but I mixed myself up there. So yeah, Discharge, no para, Zapdos, who cares? I'm going to Blissey, getting up rocks, and he's also running Discharge. What a man of culture. I think PDC built this team. I'm not sure. PDC or Eden. who are Ladybug's teammates. But this is definitely not a Ladybug-styled team, and which is not really... With Ladybug, you can't really predict what you're going to get anyway. It could be, Hailstall, or it could be, a very standard-looking, bulky offense, or it can be something off the rails. It can be anything in between. With a great player, you got to be prepared for anything. So as soon as I didn't see Abomasnow lead, I was like, all right, well, there's no way to really tell what he's going for. I mean, Gallade says bulky offense, but it could be Gallade and Skarmory in the background. It's not just going to be Gallade, in the place of a traditional Machamp offense. It could be Gallade on Machamp stall. So, take it as it comes. You know what it suggests for, the team preview start building in your head from lead. But, yeah, no expectations beyond that. And that's the beauty of this team, because I'm so comfortable with it. Then I am able to adapt to all sorts of situations. I can cover things, and yeah. So Blissey pops up rocks as Metagross comes in, and this is going to be the rocker. Hopefully it's not Trick Iron Ball, just because that's a pain. But nope, it's going to be rocks, and I'm going to go to Starmie and spin, and I have a lot of physical defense on this thing, more than usual, because I like checking Gara. And I'm going to get the para off on it, so that's fantastic. As it just EQs, so, free T-Wave on... If this stays in, great. And if it switches, great. And now, basically, if there's no... Like, on this sort of team, I'm willing to accept... Oh, whoops, I skipped ahead a little there. I forgot about that pivotal moment. But, yeah, on this team, I'm willing to accept an early Starmie trap if it means I get the T-Wave off on T-Tar, because that opens up Heatran a lot, especially if I have rocks, so then I can ride the momentum. But here I've T-Wave and Metagross, and what it looks like is that this team, whatever the design behind it, behind whoever built it, did not take into account the forcible removal of Starmie, or if not forcible removal, then some sort of technique that would allow Metagross to maintain rocks against it. If not pursue T-Tar, then T-Punch on Metagross, or Scarfro to wash to pivot into this sort of thing, whatever. Even just, sand, because I'm not kicking up sand. So, who knows? I did have a feeling there would be a DD Tar if it's not coming into Pursuit, the Starmie, though, because a lot of people like DD Tar against me, and it's a great Pokemon, obviously. But generally, if T-Tar... I'll always be on the lookout for T-Tar, and most teams are going to Pursuit with it, but if they don't Pursuit with it, and they're running a bulky offense sort of style, be on the lookout for DD. So that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, T-Wave. I get the pair on Metagross as it tries to pop up rocks again, which is great. And it reveals that it's lefties. So no Trick Iron Ball, no Akka, no Lum, no whatever. And which is fine. It's just going to be Spadef, or generally bulky, but I assume Spadef, because that's what the glue sort of thing Metagross is doing, kind of duty it's pulling on these teams. So, yeah, that's fine, and it means I'm going to permanently keep rocks off, barring some bad luck. Okay, so this is a pivotal turn, because I spin on the switch to Starmie, and this Starmie is very clearly Trick with, Choice Specs with Trick, because it wall breaks pretty much everything that's not a Blissey with Hydro Pump and its coverage, and, maybe a teammate helping it out depending on what it needs. But mostly Hydro Pump gets the job done because it's so strong, might even go Modest. But if you do face a Blissey, you have Trick. I mean, Trick is great against every sort of defensive team. Even against offense, you might trick something into a move that KOs you and then set up on it with your DD Tar. But yeah, so the Blissey is obviously going to wall, any Hydro Pump, Life Orb, or Colbur Berry, or whatever. But I'm thinking, okay, the Trick is coming, and that's why I go to Heatran here. As you may have seen earlier, you might have think, wow, you are out of your mind. And this turn, when it happened, I was like, okay, I don't even care if I lose at this point. Switching Heatran into Starmie and getting the Trick exchange as hoped made this entire SPL season worth it. So that was nice. Obviously I still want to win, but this turn felt real good. Yeah, so Heatran comes in, and what this means is that I have a Specs Overheat against an offensive team that if T-Tar wants to come in, well, that means either it's not DD, which is less threatening, or it is DD and it's become less threatening by virtue of taking the hit. Also, any T-Tar taking a hit would be nice because the goal is, sub-roost all over everything with Zapdos. And I have a feeling there's not really going to be a Heatran. It's not a hard and fast sort of thing, but there will be piling up a lot of weaknesses here. And I think Heatran would generally go in that sort of Metagross slot. Obviously, Metagross is covering things on the physical side that Heatran does as well. Or that Heatran doesn't, I'm sorry. Much less susceptible to Earthquake with lack of Quad Weak and big physical defense. Lack of water weakness, helping out against Gyarados, things like that. But I don't know. Generally, I don't see there being a sort of wall breaker Heatran here, because I'm still thinking of that physical sweeper. Like, what's this all leading towards? The Gallade, the Metagross blowing up. What's coming in at the end? And probably DD Tar. But since this is leaning very physical, then with Gallade, Metagross, probably a physical sweeper. I mean, you have the two special attackers here to balance things out. I don't know. Call it a hunch if you want, but I thought it would be likelier that there would be like an Infernape than a Heatran to double up the fighting thing and to provide more speed. So I don't think there's going to be a Scarf Heatran here. I think it would be awkward, and I don't think that it would be a non-Scarf Heatran either, because Scarf Heatran is awkward typing-wise. I don't know. Not necessarily, but I think if you have this kind of bulky offense team with Zapdos, Starmie, T-Tar, Heatran, and like a fighter like Breloom, then Breloom covers you physically, and that means you can run Metagross into the last slot. But as soon as you get rid of Breloom helping against those physical Pokemon, then you need then you can't use that last slot for whatever. I don't know if I'm making myself clear here, but yeah, I had a feeling based on my subconscious that is so full of DPP that I had the feeling Heatran was not really going to be used here. So I just let loose with Overheat. That was way too oversimplified. But yeah, see, there's the Flygon. Because you run Heatran there, and then like the final sweeper last, unless it's like Gyarados or Bronzong, and you're really risking the ground weakness really piling up. But even if it is, then I felt like Gallade, Zapdos, Metagross, Starmie, Heatran, Gyara or Bronzong, probably Gyara, then or Dragonite, I guess. I felt that would be a very awkward structure. So I guess I kind of assumed whoever was building was not going to have some sort of awkward structure like that. I apologize for trying to articulate this, which makes a lot. Usually, it makes a lot of sense to me. It might not if you are not super intimately involved with DPP for way too long, to the point where it makes sense even though it doesn't make sense on the surface. Developing that in your bones kind of thing. But yeah, click Overheat, which was free, which is great. So it slams that Flygon real good. Only gets a couple Stealth Rock switch-ins. And yeah, I get out of there. I go to Blissey. I don't know why I didn't go to Zapdos. Yeah, I guess I was afraid of like mixed Draco Meteor or something, and Blissey's just kind of super safe. But I also didn't think that this Gallade would be tricking a Choice Scarf, which is what it does to my beloved Zapdos. So much for Sub Roost. So the good news is that Discharge is pretty free, because if Flygon comes in, then Stealth Rock. So it'll be limited in that regard, and I'll just switch out more. And right now I would love to para that Gallade. That would be sweet. But it Wisps too, so that's a very cool set. So the Flygon is Scarf, and because the Gallade Scarf is clearly not meant to be kept, going to get rid of it. And I assumed that it what's it called? CC'd the Heatran on the first turn instead of tricking, because what if it's a Sash Heatran lead and it stays in, and then you just look goofy. So yeah, you want to CC that and then keep your Gallade, as opposed to just, oh well, thanks for the healthy Scarf Heatran, getting up rocks up for free. So now I was wondering if no, I don't think there was a way to really guess Will-O-Wisp. I mean, I should have considered the possibility more and gone to Starmie, because, what else is going to come in here, But, so now Zapdos being burned and scarfed is really not great, where Starmie's going to shrug it off and threaten Wisp. So threaten T-Wave, sorry. So it probably would have been better to go to Starmie. But yeah, there's a T-Wave being threatened on this Gallade. Or no, do I double switch? No, I go to Zapdos. Or does he stay in? No, Metagross comes in. Yeah, not really. With the Starmie burned, then I can't 1v1 the Metagross. So that was a great play on Ladybug's end. Yeah, if I had avoided the burn on Zapdos, I mean, the pair on Gallade would have been really worth it. And, you know, the damage doesn't hurt either. So it's not the worst. It could have been tighter. Yeah. So back to Starmie, I believe. Yep. And here's Zapdos coming in against, I'm not sure, maybe was expecting a Heat Wave, trying to avoid that. And just getting an opportunity to roost up with Zap, which is what he's going to get here after the Stealth Rock damage, but I'm just going to go to Blissey. And he double switches right back to Metagross to get those rocks up, but I am totally fine because I'm just going to... And yeah, see, if I had Surf here, I would use it there, but since I have Psychic, I don't quite want to reveal that yet. So I'm going to act like I'm going to T-Wave you on the switch and then spin, because I'm just going to sit on this thing all day. Because, you know, it's down to 14 Earthquakes. It's, you know, oh, it crits already, but, you know, it's paralyzed. So I'm not worried about this at all. And I'll happily run myself out of Recover PP if that means running the Metagross out of Earthquakes. Because then it, you know, the goal is if Starmie goes down, it goes down with rocks off the field. But then the Metagross... Okay, there's the mic, sorry. Yeah, Metagross gets an attack raise from Mash while paired, which I was not super jazzed about. So I'm going for Recover, Stealth Rock, you know, hoping a full pair kicks in before I inevitably have to switch. Even though, you know, Recover, with the +1 attack, I'm still not taking bad damage. But I would really hate to get crit here. So there's the... on Mike. Yeah, the stupid Mike, I don't think he even moved there. Anyway, so gonna get a Brox there. He's gonna get a Brox there, which unfortunate. And now hits Mash and Zapdos is going down. And I thought about switching here as opposed to just letting my Zapdos go down for free, because I was like, no way, he lets Metagross take another discharge, you know. But you know, Flygon's coming in. And I would love to have the Death Fodder, but I was also like, you really cannot afford to get cute around this Metagross. You know, like at +1 attack, it could really mess you up. I guess the safe-ish move would have been to go to Starmie. No, it's not a safe move to go to Starmie. You know, switching to Rocks, +1 Mash, and then you're recovering, and or spinning, I guess. But no, it could get ugly. So rather, you know, cut your losses. And if he goes to Flygon, fine, because while Zapdos goes down, you know, which I could have controlled a little better. Now Breloom comes in. Now here's the cool part. Mach Punch threatens Flygon to be finished off, obviously. And I don't want to just, you know, thud with Mach Punch into Metagross or something. But so I was thinking about Focus Punch, honestly. And I really, really wanted to, because if he stays and goes for Outrage, you know, God forbid, then I just live and then I finish it off with Mach Punch. Because this is not really a Breloom matchup anyway. So I want to, you know, get some explosiveness back. And, you know, take something back after the, you know, rather unfortunate Metagross interaction there. So I go for Spore. I think I was looking to hit Zapdos or Gallade. I mean, Focus Punch would have been great into them too. But, yeah, Focus Punch, I guess... Well, because Spore is also better if Flygon stays in. Because then, you know, either Flygon goes down or, you know... Focus Punch trashes something else, and yeah. But if Flygon goes down, then Sleep Clause is not more is still active. So yeah, I guess Focus Punch was although he didn't know I had Focus Punch, so why switch Metagross into a possible superpower? I don't know. It's kind of an awkward position. You see the Breloom thing I was talking about in the lead up to the thing. But yeah, now I'm going for Focus Punch, which I was really a believer of this season. And look at how it wallops that Metagross. So those rocks are staying off if I can manage to get them off. And now I go for Seed Bomb, which doesn't quite get it done against Zapdos. But it's fine because I'm not worried about Zapdos. And what's more is that he goes for Heat Wave, trying to catch me focus punching on the Roost, which is beautiful because now either Zapdos switches out and is ruined or eats a T-Wave. And, yeah, beautiful stuff. And now Metagross can't switch into Blissey, so this is just progressing gorgeously. And eventually, you know, after, on the Zapdos Roost, I'll get Specs Heatran in and destroy something. So that would be great. In comes Gallade on Seismic Toss, but now that I know this Gallade, I think I had, some apprehension about switching Starmie into Gallade earlier because I was like, oh, it might have like Leaf Blade for Swampert or something. You know, it's maybe not Leaf Blade, but like Thunder Punch. You know, it's always got, or it's likely to have Shadow Sneak. I wasn't sure because with Trick Scarf Gallade, there's not a standard set. You're kind of operating in uncharted territory, so I want to be very careful, especially because Starmie is quite important. But now Starmie feels safe, and he double switches to threaten my Starmie with his Starmie again. So now, rather than pull the Heatran maneuver, I decide I'm going to go to Breloom, because Breloom's gotten a lot done, and I don't see it being needed for that much more. I don't think he's going to go for Specs Ice Beam, number one. If he does, then I'll take a KO back with Heatran. But I can Scout Hydro Pump, and I can take Trick. And if he does Ice Beam or Psychic, then, okay, I can live without Breloom, because I'm gearing up for a late-game Scarf Metagross sweep, because I'm still pretty sure that last is going to be some sort of boosting sweep, or probably DD Tar, you know, theoretically Gyarados or whatever, but with Rocks up, an offensive team is not going to be too good at withstanding those mashes late game. I mean, there's the bulky Zapdos and the bulky Metagross. Metagross, on his end, is basically dead. And Zapdos is going to be dealing with rocks, it's paralyzed. I'm not worried about it. So, with Scarf Gross, Blissey, and Specs Heatran to break through, then that's my goal. Metagross sweep late game. So, I get the trick, which is wonderful. And now the Starmie has Toxic Orb itself, which means it's also closer to being KO'd if it starts taking poison damage. But I forget what I do next, actually. Because the date on this game is what? February 15th, yeah. So, I forgot what I do next, but I think I want to preserve Blissey. I don't want Blissey getting my Toxic Orb tricked onto it. That would be terrible. So, I think I just stay... Or do I go to my own Starmie? No, that would be bad, too. But, yeah, I think I stay in, don't I? Or do I go to... No, I go to Blissey on what I assume would be the Ice Beam, just to scout out. Because I guess you're not going to trick again, you know? I mean, you could, but... Yeah, go to Blissey. I mean, sure, cool. I have a Specs Breloom now, but which is not going to be too much. But I don't think it really changes that much, which is nice. So yeah, now I just get another S-Toss off as... and Zapdos is going to be sacrificed. I mean, look, even Blissey is a threat here, because Zapdos gets taken out by 2. Gallade, I believe... How much did it take from Seismic Toss last time? It took... Can I find this in the log? Did I actually... I must have Seismic Tossed it on the Switch. Did I really not Seismic Toss it? Okay, well, I'm sure... Because I'm seeing the timer pop up. I was probably calculating how much Seismic Toss would do to Gallade. And Gallade does not have a great HP stat. So... It's... Alright, well... I'm going to do one last attempt to find Seismic. That was my machine, not yours. Okay, no, I did Seismic Toss it. Why couldn't I find it when I scrolled it? Losing it. Yeah, 37%. So it's at 41 before Rocks, so it would get KO'd by Seismic Toss. So yeah, Blissey, Seismic Toss, you know, a great offensive move against an offensive team. So yeah, now back to Starmie, free, you know, barring crit. Actually, I'd live even with a crit, and I don't think it's gonna be Trick Scarf with Shadow Snake. So now I get the spin-off, because that's my #1 priority, now that Metagross is on death's door, and the Starmie comes in, gets Toxic Orb. I go to Breloom, because I don't want it getting tricked, and I eat a Hydro Pump. Yeah, aiming for Heatran or something. I'm not sure. I guess the... Well, Starmie's not going to stay, and... I mean, Starmie could have stayed in there, because... You don't know, because Trick, Hydro, Spin, and what coverage, you know? Or if it does have coverage at all. I assume it does because it has Zapdos, or I assume it has Spin because there's the Zapdos partnership, but I know there are people who like Spec Starmie without anything. So now, I decided to basically sack Breloom to, you know, finish the Starmie off, make sure those rocks are permanent. I know the Zapdos has gone down, but you still want rocks. Now he tries to catch the Blissey on the Trick, so mixing the moves up. These are very hard triggers to pull. And I thought about it, and my timer goes down to 180 before the turn. But, yeah, now Starmie gives me my Toxic Orb back, and I Seed Bomb, take it out. So I feel... So that's going solid. I remember back in the day, in the Wi-Fi era, then, you know, there were people who would narrate their battles and go, well, Heatran sets up Stealth Rock, and as Skarmory switches out, and Suicune goes up, Suicune comes in, and I get Rock, so that's good for me. And, you know, then he's Calm Minds as I switch to Shaman, so that's good for him. But now I Seed Flare, so that's good for me. And we would rag on it, and I was like, I'm never going to narrate like that. And I just slipped very close. 14-year-old Kev would be super disappointed. Although I think he would be vaguely approving of this game being played. Anyway, so Starmie comes in again into this Gallade, really challenging that assumption that there's no Shadow Sting. Maybe I should have gone to Metagross here to check, but nope. I made the call that it's probably not going to. Especially because his timer went down to 30 seconds. I'm like, if he had Shadow Sneak, it's getting clicked, you know? So now, Metagross comes in to get sacrificed, and unfortunately my Genius Psychic Starmie, which is so necessary, is going to come up a little bit short here because I am embarrassingly unable to KO this weak Metagross, even with 2 hits with the, whatchamacallit, full para there, and I am going to lose my Starmie. And I thought I should have gone to Breloom maybe, but I wanted to keep Mach Punch, and but I should have kept it. I should have gone to Breloom because it doesn't get KO'd by Mash, and you know, if it gets boomed on, who cares? Because now I'm unable to switch into Gallade's close combat, and that's going to make things hairier for me. So that I think was definitely a misplay. So now I go to Metagross because this is my big gun, and my fast one too, which is needed. So now Gallade comes in, and he makes a great move, knowing I'm not going to risk a Meteor Mash miss, and goes to Flygon. It's on its last legs. And, yeah, so Flygon gets one more switch, but now I go to Breloom, and this was a major mistake. I don't know why I didn't go to Blissey. Because Blissey takes 2 Outrages easily, and even if I didn't want to take the second one, I could just pivot into Heatran or Metagross afterwards and be just fine. Instead, I sacrificed Breloom, meaning I sacrificed Mach Punch, meaning I am now potentially... It needs bad luck, but you want to avoid bad luck if I am going to face that DD Tar that I'm expecting. I can still play around it, but that was definitely a dumb move on my part. The good news is we are coming down to crunch time, and now that the Flygon is going to be dealt with, then nothing is going to outspeed the Scarf Metagross, so... a couple Meteor Mashes away from potentially being the ball game. So now I'm just going to soft wheel stall until this Flygon Outrage confuses, so that I can potentially, you know, maybe he messes up and switches to Gallade on the Seismic Toss and loses both Flygon to Rocks and the Gallade to the Seismic Toss on the switch. Or, you know, he goes to T-Tar, gets overeager, you know, give opponents room to make mistakes. Or, you know, more likely, you want to give yourself the opportunity to let the Flygon get confused from Outrage and KO itself that way so the Blissey doesn't take any damage. Although, seeing as I have to run from close combat anyway, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. So, but the Gallade doesn't come in here. And Ladybug's timer goes down to 10 seconds as now T-Tar, named after the first song to appear in Drive. Technically, it's not the first song to appear in Drive. One of the instrumental tracks plays over the opening. But you know what I mean, the first theme song. I don't know if that's where the name comes from. But yeah, here comes the DD Tar. So basically, I have no choice but to go to my Scarf Metagross and click Meteor Mash. And I really wish... I mean, okay... Theoretically, actually no, even if it were a Choppleberry, then I would be fine if I had kept kept Breloom because, you know, Bliss, it would set up on Blissey, and I would Seismic Toss it a couple times, or I would T-Wave it, you know, make sure it's not Babiri Berry, which I was like, oh god. No one's used Babiri Berry DD Tar since 2010, because that was when the Dragons were around and Scizor was #1 in usage, and yeah, that would be stupid, right? But I was like, Kev, you're going to feel stupid. Don't miss Mash. Because you live I think I would live a plus. Actually, I might not even live a +1 EQ because it's max attack and speed Metagross. It's not bulk. But it's going to DD again, which is the point. But yeah. So now it's all down to whether I hit Meteor Mash or not. Can you imagine if I ended the video here? That'd be messed up. Yeah. Anyway, saw Chainsaw Man, the movie, with my girlfriend in the theater. She convinced me to watch it. It was a great time. Well, she convinced me to watch Chainsaw Man with her, and then she was like, oh, we can go see the movie. And I was like, wow, what a blast. Yeah. So, and then I saw 8.5 in the theater. First time in 5 years. Anyway, so here comes Meteor Mash, and it hits, and T-Tar goes down, and that's the game because I'm going to switch out and finish it off with EQ. Yeah, theoretically, I could have gone to Scarf Gross on a CC from Gallade if I wanted to preserve, but I would have sacrificed the Heatran probably. But yeah, definitely shouldn't have. The other misplays were, you know, more forgivable, but the Breloom one at the end, that was goofy. I mean, it was still a very favored victory, so, you know, it could have been worse, but I was definitely like, Kev. Yeah, that one, 14-year-old Kev definitely would have been like, what are you doing, old man? Anyway, I just did horrible, and I'm more than twice as old as that kid was back then. Yeah, so GG to Ladybug, who was a great opponent. And the really nice thing, I really enjoyed the battle while it was happening, you know, which is rare because a lot of the time I'm just like, oh god, you know. Well, actually, no, usually the experience is the lead up to the battle is horrifying, and then the battle itself is fine. Getting to that, you know, to the lead matchup is the hardest part. After that, you know, I'm in my element. It's just, you know, all that waiting up to it, you know, time to second guess, things like that. But yeah, in this battle, I really enjoyed it more than I might enjoy, you know, the average SPL game. You know, and Ladybug being the opponent was a major part of that. You know, not just because of who he is, but because, you know, the game was fantastic, and the team was very unique, and yeah. So that's basically it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.